Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today, um, today we're going to be talking about something that I think we all struggle with a little bit, and that is deciphering those confusing signals in relationships.
That's right.
Specifically, when you're trying to figure out, like, do they love me? Do they not? Are they in this or are they not?
Mhm.
Um, and you might be here because you're actually prepping for a tough conversation with someone, or
Right.
maybe you're trying to figure out your own situation.
Mm.
Or, hey, maybe you're just like me and you're fascinated by the psychology of love and relationships and all that good stuff.
Yeah, we're all detectives in the heart department sometimes.
It's so true. And to guide our investigation today, we have a YouTube video. And this one is from Social Psychology Masters.
Uh-huh.
And the title of this one is 10 Signs Your Partner Doesn't Love You, Even If You Think They Do.
Ooh, that's a good
I
one.
know, right? It sounds a little intense, but sometimes a dose of reality is what we need.
It's all about gaining self-awareness and understanding those relationship dynamics.
Right. Okay, so let's just jump right into it.
Yeah.
The first sign that they talk about in this video is all about the busy excuse. And I think we've all been there.
Oh, for sure.
At some point in our lives where,
Yeah.
someone that we're interested in or dating or maybe even in a relationship with is like, oh, I'm so busy.
Yeah, and it's interesting because while, we all have busy periods in our lives, jobs and school and family and all of that,
Right.
consistently using that as a reason to avoid spending quality time with you can be a red flag.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about, the occasional late night at work or,
Yeah, right.
having to, go to a family event.
Yeah.
But a persistent pattern of prioritizing everything else over the relationship.
So what do you think is really going on beneath the surface when someone's always too busy for us?
Well, sometimes it boils down to avoidance.
Okay.
And not necessarily a conscious, malicious kind of avoidance, but maybe an unconscious fear of intimacy, or maybe they've been hurt in the past and that hasn't quite healed yet, or even a mismatch in attachment style.
Oh, attachment styles. Okay, so now we're getting into the real psychology here. Tell me more about this.
So think of attachment styles as like our blueprint for how we connect in relationships.
Okay.
Some people are more secure and they're comfortable with closeness.
Right.
While others might be more anxious or avoidant, making them kind of pull back when things get too intense.
So are you saying that someone with an avoidant attachment style might be more prone to using that busy excuse?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they might crave connection deep down, but their instinct is to create that distance to protect themselves.
Right.
So the key here, I think, is recognizing the pattern and having some open and honest communication about each other's needs and expectations.
So it's like saying, hey, I get that you're busy, but quality time is really important to me, so how can we make this work?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I like that.
That brings us to the next sign, which is kind of a flip side of the same coin. Contact only when needed.
Ugh, this one hits close to home for a lot of people, I think.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's that feeling of being the last priority,
Yeah, it is. And it ties into that idea of, genuine interest versus convenience.
Right.
Someone who truly cares about you is going to want to be an active participant in your life, not just a guest star that appears when they need something.
Right.
So think about it. Are you always the one reaching out, initiating plans, sharing those little moments from your day?
Oh, you're making me analyze all my text messages right now.
Or is there a reciprocal flow of energy?
But it's so true, though, because it is about those little gestures, like a thinking of you text or randomly calling just to hear your voice. Like, that's what genuine care looks like.
For sure. And when those things are consistently missing, it might be a sign to pause and reflect on the dynamics of the relationship.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next sign I think is interesting because it delves into the physical side of things. And that is physical intimacy over everything. And of course, this isn't about judging anyone's preferences, but rather highlighting the difference between lust and love.
Exactly.
Because someone who's genuinely in love with you wants a connection on all those levels, right? Emotional, mental, and yes, physical.
Exactly.
Right.
It's not just about the sparks and fireworks, but about a deeper understanding and a desire to truly know you.
It's that classic mind, body, and soul connection, right?
Yeah.
And that can be complicated, though.
It can.
Because lust can sometimes masquerade as love, especially in those early stages of a relationship.
For sure.
So how do we tell the difference? How do we know if it's real or if it's just,
Yeah, that's a great question.
infatuation?
I think one thing to pay attention to is how your partner responds when you share your thoughts and feelings.
Okay.
Those vulnerabilities, are you opening up to them?
Mm-hmm.
Are they truly listening? Do they engage in meaningful conversations with you? Do they value your perspective?
Right.
Or do they seem more focused on the physical aspects of the relationship?
That's a really good point because it is about feeling seen and understood for who you are at your core,
Exactly.
not just for how you look or.
Yeah, and feeling like they're genuinely interested in sharing life's journey with you,
Mm-hmm.
not just those fleeting moments of passion.
Okay. I like that. All right. So sign number 4 that we're going to talk about today is the compliment conundrum.
Okay.
And this one's interesting because I think, we all love to receive compliments,
Of course.
but they can be a little deceptive.
They can be.
So how do we know if those sweet nothings are genuine or just a tactic?
Well, it's kind of like that saying, actions speak louder than words, right?
Yes.
So it's about looking beyond just the words and observing their actions.
Okay.
Do they back up their compliments with behaviors that demonstrate that they truly care?
Right.
Do they make an effort to understand your needs, respect your boundaries, support your growth as a person?
Hmm.
Or are those compliments merely superficial, lacking any real substance?
I'm starting to see a theme here, and it's all about that consistency,
Yeah.
right? Like words and actions need to align.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
It's easy to get caught up in the romance of those grand gestures and, flowery words.
Right.
But true love is in those details.
Yes.
Those everyday acts of kindness and consideration.
I love it. Okay, so the last sign that we're going to cover in this part of our deep dive is enforced dependence. And I
Right.
think this is one that's really important to unpack
Yeah, this one's big.
because it highlights the difference between healthy interdependence
Right.
and that unhealthy dependence.
Exactly.
Because a loving partner wants to empower you, right? They want to see you thrive,
Yes.
become the best version of
Well,
yourself,
as an individual.
not to keep you tethered to them out of neediness or insecurity.
It's like they're trying to create a dynamic where you always need them. You
Right.
can't function without them.
Exactly. And it might start subtly, like discouraging you from pursuing your own interests or making you feel like you can't make a decision without their input.
Right.
But over time, it can really erode your sense of self and create that unhealthy power imbalance.
Yeah.
So what are some signs that this might be happening in a relationship?
Pay attention to how your partner responds when you express your desires or make independent decisions.
Okay.
Do they support and encourage you? Or do they try to undermine your confidence or guilt you into relying on them?
So that's a good question to ask ourselves. Do I feel empowered in this relationship? Or am I constantly second-guessing myself and seeking validation?
That's the question, right? Because
Yeah.
true love celebrates your individuality and wants to see you shine,
Right.
not dim your light to make themselves feel more secure.
I love that. Okay, so we are already halfway through these 10 signs,
Yeah.
and my mind is blown. I'm ready for more, but we're going to have to save it for the next part of our deep dive. So
Yes, definitely more to come.
stay tuned, and we'll be back with the remaining 5 signs, and I'm excited
Stay tuned.
to dive in. So we'll see you soon.
See you then.
All right, so welcome back to our deep dive into the world of relationships and trying to decipher these confusing signals which we get sometimes.
Absolutely.
So we are ready to jump right back into those 10 signs from the Social Psychology Masters YouTube video.
Okay, that's good.
And in this part, we're going to pick up with sign number 6, which is the blame game.
Okay.
We touched on this a little bit in the first part,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's one that deserves a deeper exploration, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that this one is a really big one because the tendency to blame others is something that's very deeply ingrained in human psychology,
Right.
It's a defense mechanism
Okay.
that protects our ego and prevents us from taking responsibility for our own actions and behaviors.
So are you saying that when someone's constantly blaming their partner, it's more about them than the other person?
Often, yes.
No.
A lot of times it can stem from deep-seated insecurities or past traumas they've experienced, or even learned behavior patterns from their family of origin.
That's so interesting how that plays out.
Yeah.
So how does this actually play out in relationships, though?
So imagine a couple's facing a challenge, right? Like financial stress, for example.
Okay.
Instead of approaching it as a team, the person who's prone to blaming might accuse their partner of overspending or not earning enough.
Right.
Basically deflecting any responsibility from themselves.
I see how that would create like a toxic cycle
Yeah.
of resentment and, being defensive.
It is. And then what happens is the partner who's constantly being blamed ends up feeling inadequate and resentful,
Right.
and then the blamer never learns to actually take ownership and grow.
So how do we even break free from this pattern?
Well, I think the first step is self-awareness,
Right.
recognizing our own tendency to blame.
Mm.
And then we can consciously practice taking responsibility for our actions, even when it feels uncomfortable. Because it's very easy to blame someone else, but taking that ownership yourself is really challenging.
Yeah, it's about shifting that perspective from you did this to me to I feel this way because of this situation.
Exactly.
It's subtle, but it's powerful.
It is. And when both partners commit to this approach, it creates a much healthier foundation of respect and understanding,
Right.
allowing them to actually face those challenges as a team,
Working together.
working together. Exactly.
I like that. Okay, so sign number 7, disrespecting boundaries.
Oh.
And this one seems pretty straightforward, but I'm curious to hear your take on it.
Yeah, so we all have those invisible lines,
Right.
that define our personal space,
Yeah.
both physically and emotionally.
Absolutely.
So what happens when those lines are repeatedly crossed? It's a violation of trust and a sign of disrespect.
Okay.
Because boundaries are essential for maintaining any healthy relationship with ourselves and with others, because they define our limits, our values, what we're comfortable with.
So how do we establish those healthy boundaries in the first place? Because that can be a hard conversation to have.
It can be. Yeah, it can be a little tricky. But it's essential for building that strong foundation.
Okay.
And it starts with self-awareness again.
Okay.
What are your non-negotiables? What are those behaviors that make you feel uncomfortable or disrespected or unsafe?
Right.
Once you're clear on those boundaries, then you can communicate them assertively to your partner.
So it's not about like giving ultimatums or trying to control someone,
Right.
but it's about saying, hey, this is important to me, or
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with this behavior.
Exactly. And it's also just as important to respect your partner's boundaries as well.
Yes.
It's the two-way street, like with communication and accountability.
It all comes back to that, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so sign number 8,
Yeah.
effortless love. Think again.
This is a good one.
I think we all, deep down, we crave that fairy tale romance
Oh, we do.
where love just flows effortlessly,
Right.
but reality has other plans, I guess.
Yeah, that idea of effortless love. It's a myth that's perpetuated by romantic movies and novels, but in real life, relationships require effort,
Yeah.
commitment, and a willingness to navigate all of those challenges that are going to inevitably arise.
So those couples that we see that, seem to just glide through life,
Mm-hmm.
are they just putting on a show?
Not necessarily. I mean, every relationship has its own unique dynamics,
Mm-hmm.
but it's important to remember that even those seemingly perfect couples, they face difficulties behind closed doors.
Right. Everyone has problems.
Exactly.
Well, then what is the secret to sustaining a loving connection over the long haul? If it's not effortless, then what is it?
It's about being intentional about it.
Okay.
It's about making a conscious choice every day to nurture that relationship, to communicate effectively,
Right.
to prioritize spending quality time together,
Yeah.
and to work through those conflicts constructively.
So it's not about finding the perfect partner or waiting for love to magically appear.
Right.
It's about choosing to love and putting in the work to make it last.
Exactly. And understanding that, love ebbs and flows.
Right.
There will be seasons of intense connection
Ah.
and seasons where you have to put in a little extra effort to keep that spark alive.
Yeah, that takes the pressure off a little bit
It does.
to find that, once in a lifetime
Yeah.
kind of love. And it focuses on the everyday actions that build a strong bond.
It really does.
Yeah,
Love is a journey, not a destination.
I like that. Okay, moving on to sign number 9, apathy towards your emotions. This one seems pretty straightforward,
It does.
but I still want to hear your insights on this.
Yeah, so, apathy or indifference towards your partner's emotions,
Yeah.
it's a sign of emotional disconnect
Like,
and a lack of empathy and that failure to truly see and understand their inner world.
so it's not just about listening, but it's about actually caring how they feel.
Exactly.
Okay.
So a loving partner is attuned to your emotional state. They're
Yeah.
going to celebrate your joys.
Mm.
They're going to offer comfort during times of sadness or stress.
Right.
And they're not going to dismiss your feelings or try to fix them.
Hmm.
They're simply going to hold space for you to just be yourself.
Yes.
To express your emotions freely without judgment.
It's about feeling safe and understood. Like your partner has your back no matter what.
Exactly. And reciprocating that empathy as well.
Mhm.
It goes both ways.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street, just like respect and communication.
It all comes back to that.
It really does.
So how do we cultivate this kind of emotional intimacy in a relationship?
Well, I think it starts with being present,
Okay.
you know, putting down your phone, turning off the TV, and truly listening to your partner when they're sharing their feelings,
Right.
asking clarifying questions, reflecting back what you're hearing, and validating their experience.
It's about making them feel seen.
Seen and heard. Yes.
Yeah, not just like you're acknowledging that they're talking.
Exactly.
Oh,
And it's about being vulnerable yourself,
okay.
you know? Sharing your own emotions, your fears, your insecurities creates a deeper connection and understanding.
Vulnerability breeds vulnerability.
It does.
It's like saying, I trust you enough to let you see all of me.
Exactly. And when that trust is reciprocated, it creates a really powerful bond that can withstand anything.
I love that. Okay. And the final sign on our list today is fear of being alone.
Okay.
And we talked about this briefly before,
We did.
but I think it's one that's worth diving deeper into.
I agree.
When someone stays in a relationship out of fear of being alone, what's really going on there?
Well, that fear of being alone is a powerful emotion.
It is.
And it can really drive our decisions, especially in matters of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
It often stems from deep-seated insecurities or past traumas or even, societal conditioning
Yeah.
that tells us we're not complete without a romantic partner.
Right. We need to have someone
Yeah,
to be happy.
exactly.
So it's not just about enjoying someone's company.
Right.
It's a deeper need for validation and security.
Exactly. And while it's natural to desire companionship and connection, when that desire turns into a desperate need to avoid being alone, it can lead to some unhealthy relationship patterns.
Yeah. So how do we distinguish between that healthy desire for connection and that fear-based attachment?
Well, I think it's about examining our motives,
Okay.
you know? Are we choosing to be with this person because they genuinely bring joy and fulfillment into our lives?
Right.
Or are we clinging to them out of fear of facing the unknown?
Ooh, that's a tough question
It is.
to ask ourselves.
It is a tough
It
question.
requires a lot of honesty and self-reflection.
It does, but it's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
Because settling for a relationship out of fear can actually prevent us from experiencing the kind of love that we truly deserve.
It's about knowing our worth.
It is.
Yeah. And I'm seeing a theme here. Self-awareness is so important
It's huge.
when it comes to relationships.
Absolutely.
It's about understanding our own patterns,
Mm-hmm.
our own needs,
Right.
our motivations,
Yes.
and making choices that align with who we truly are.
I love that. And recognizing that being alone doesn't mean being lonely.
Right.
Solitude can be a really powerful tool for self-discovery and growth.
So it's about learning to be comfortable with ourselves,
Yes.
embracing who we are,
Exactly.
and building a life that feels fulfilling regardless of our relationship status.
I love that. And then when we approach relationships from that place of wholeness and self-love, we're more likely to attract partners who are equally secure and capable of building healthy, fulfilling connections.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have covered a lot of ground in just these last two parts,
Yeah.
exploring all these 10 signs.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling optimistic.
Me too.
I feel like I've learned so much about myself
Yeah.
and about just relationships in general.
And remember, these signs, they're not meant to be a definitive checklist or a reason to panic.
Right.
They're simply tools for reflection and self-discovery
Yeah.
to help you gain a deeper understanding of what's going on in your own relationships. Exactly.
It's about empowering ourselves with information and making choices that align with our values
love that.
and what we want.
Exactly.
And sometimes the most loving choice we can make is to walk away from a relationship
Mm-hmm.
that no longer serves us,
Absolutely.
to create space for something new.
It's about recognizing our worth and not settling for anything less than we deserve.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm ready for more. I'm ready to dive into the next part,
Me too.
where we're going to be exploring the signs that your partner does love you.
Yes, those beautiful indicators.
Well, I'm excited.
Me too. I think it's the perfect way to end our deep dive on a positive note.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you in part 3.
See you there.
All right, so we are back for the final part of our deep dive. We've talked about a lot of those red flags, those signs that might make you question things.
Yeah.
But now it's time to shift gears and talk about the good stuff.
Right.
Those signs, those green flags that tell us that someone is truly, madly, deeply in love with us. So are you ready for a little relationship sunshine?
I'm ready for some positivity.
Okay, so in the last part, we ended with this question.
Yeah.
What are the signs that your partner does love you?
Yeah.
Those like unmistakable indicators that their heart is truly invested.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive right in.
Right.
What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, I think one of the most powerful indicators is consistency.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about those grand gestures or the occasional, burst of affection,
Right.
but consistency in those everyday moments.
Yeah.
It's about knowing deep down that your partner is there for you through thick and thin,
Hmm.
that their love isn't fleeting or conditional.
It's like that feeling of having a safe harbor,
Yes.
like a steady anchor in the storms of life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Consistency builds trust. And trust is the foundation of any strong and lasting relationship.
Right.
When you know you can rely on your partner, it allows you to relax, to be your authentic self, to
Yeah.
really let down your guard and connect on a deeper level.
And that connection, that feeling of being seen and understood, I mean, that's what we all want.
Absolutely. And someone who truly loves you sees all of you,
Right.
not just the parts that you present to the world,
Yeah.
but the whole package, the good, the bad, the
Yeah.
strengths, the weaknesses,
Those little quirks.
the quirks, the complexity, those things that make you uniquely you.
It's like they're holding up a mirror to your soul and saying, I see you and I love all of it.
Exactly. And they're not trying to change you or mold you into someone you're not.
Right.
They appreciate your individuality.
Yes.
And they support your growth, becoming your biggest cheerleader along the way.
It's like having your own personal hype squad.
Yes,
Just
exactly.
always in your corner.
Cheering you on.
Yeah.
And that support extends beyond just celebrating victories.
Okay.
It's about being there during those setbacks.
Right.
Offering comfort and encouragement when you need it most.
Yeah. It's knowing that no matter what you're going through, you're not alone.
You've got someone to lean on, someone who's going to walk through those tough times with you.
Yeah, that's a really nice thought. It's like having that built-in support system.
Yeah.
That safe space to land when things get rough.
Absolutely. And that sense of safety and security, it allows for vulnerability,
Okay.
which is another key indicator of genuine love.
Tell me more about that.
So it's about being able to let your guard down, to share your fears and insecurities,
Yeah.
those tender parts of yourself that you might not show to just anyone.
It takes a lot of courage to do that.
It does. It takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable, to open your heart up and trust someone with those precious pieces of yourself.
Absolutely.
But when that vulnerability is met with love and acceptance, it creates a bond that is so powerful and so resilient.
It's like saying, I trust you with my heart, with all of its cracks and imperfections.
Yes, and when that trust is reciprocated, it creates a safe haven for both partners to truly be themselves.
That's beautiful.
And, that kind of vulnerability leads to deeper intimacy.
Okay.
And I'm not just talking about physical intimacy,
Right.
but emotional and intellectual intimacy as well.
It's connecting on a soul level.
Yes, connecting on a soul level, understanding each other's hopes and dreams and fears.
Sharing those quiet moments.
Those quiet moments, those heartfelt conversations that nourish the soul.
I love that it's about seeing beyond the surface.
Yeah.
And connecting on that deeper
level.
And celebrating each other's quirks.
Mm-hmm.
And just embracing those little moments of everyday magic.
Absolutely. And speaking of magic,
Okay.
let's not forget about respect.
Respect?
It might seem obvious.
Yeah.
But respect is the bedrock of any healthy and lasting relationship. It's about valuing your partner's opinions even when you disagree.
Right.
It's about honoring their boundaries.
Yeah.
Recognizing that they have the right to their own space, their own time, and their own choices.
Respect is like the air we breathe in a relationship.
That is.
We might not always notice it, but it's essential for survival.
It's essential, and it's about creating a partnership where both individuals feel heard and valued
Yes.
and empowered to be themselves.
And that empowerment goes hand in hand with love.
It does.
Because when you love someone,
Yeah.
you want them to be happy, you want them to thrive.
You want what's best for them.
Yeah.
You support their dreams, even if it means making sacrifices yourself.
Yeah.
You celebrate their victories as if they were your own.
Yeah.
You find joy in their happiness.
Because their happiness becomes an extension of your own.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's about sharing life's journey together through those ups and downs, the triumphs and challenges, knowing that you have each other's backs no matter what.
So to recap, genuine love is about consistency,
Insistence.
acceptance, vulnerability, respect, empowerment, and shared joy.
Shared joy.
It's about those deep connections that go beyond the surface
Yes.
and create a bond that can't be broken.
Beautifully said. And it's about remembering that love is a choice that we make every day
Yeah.
to show up for our partner, to nurture the relationship,
Yeah.
and to create a love story that's uniquely our own.
And sometimes that choice means stepping away
It does.
from a relationship that's no longer serving us.
Right.
And honoring ourselves and creating space for something new.
It's about recognizing our worth
Mm-hmm.
and not settling for anything less than we deserve.
This has been a roller coaster
It has.
of emotions talking about all this.
It really has.
But I feel like I'm walking away with a renewed sense of hope and optimism.
Me too, because at the end of the day, love is a beautiful and powerful force.
It is.
And it has the power to heal, to transform, to create a world that's filled with kindness, compassion, and connection.
And that's a world I want to be a part of.
Me too.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey.
Absolutely.
And remember, love is not just a feeling, it's a choice
It is a choice.
that we make every day
Every single day.
to create the relationships we want and to build a world where love thrives.
I love that.
That's a beautiful way to end this.
It is.
Well, until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep loving.
Yes. I love that.